Okay, well, I've got 12 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody that's joined us to our webinar to discuss the transition from fifth grade to junior high. We have a lot of parents on. I'm right there with you. I've got a kiddo that's going to be going from fifth grade into sixth grade as well. So I'm going to be asking questions to Mr. Rush, who is our principal at Snyder Junior High. And then Ms. Falconberry, she got called away, but she's going to hop on as soon as she can. She is the counselor for Snyder Junior High. My name is Valerie Morris. If you don't know me, I work at the administration office and I manage communications for the district. So Mr. Rush, we've got things kicked off. We had the junior high go over and visit the fifth graders, right? What's happening? What's going on with this process?
So we had the high school band go over and we met with all of our fifth grade students who will transition from intermediate over to junior high next year, and basically gave them the outline about what their school day gets to look like, because it's a lot different going to an 8-period day and moving between classrooms all the time. We went through what required courses. So there's certain courses they must sign up for, and then leaving them with a little bit of options on their electives. So the band was there because they want to help them get excited about choosing which instrument they want to do if band is in their future as well.
That's great. It was a fun morning. I enjoyed being over there. The kids were excited. They really got into the band being there with some of the games that they played, and learning more about what junior high was. I think they were excited about the fact of not being in one classroom all day as well. Did you get that vibe from them?
Of course, they do like to move around and be social little humans at this point in time. So that's going to be a fun time for them as long as they're doing what we need them to do.
Absolutely. A lot of expectations and maturity that happens in that sixth grade year. Tell me, what about electives? What if my child is not sure which elective they want to do, or they change their mind?
So we really want to have them go ahead and sign up for their electives in advance. So a lot of work goes in this summer as far as scheduling. And once a student chooses one, it's not that they're necessarily locked in, but that does limit them from going a lot of times, because we do have to balance out our class numbers and all that good stuff. So our sixth graders typically end up with, out of the 8 periods, 2 electives. Some of them will only have 1 elective based upon their academic needs. So we always look for the academics to be done first, but then they get 2 choices. So Ms. Falconberry has set out a form. All of your students have that form. We ask that they number the electives from 1 through 3 or 4. That way, in case they don't get into their first choice because of where it lines up in the master schedule, class conflicts, number of people wanting it, we can have a backup plan for them. So we definitely ask that they use numbers. We ask that you sit down with them. They should already have that form. They need to take it back to their homeroom teacher by Tuesday, March 7th. On March 7th, Ms. Falconberry will make a plan to go pick all of those up. And then she actually starts putting different things into our Skyward system so that it can start balancing and leveraging some of our classes, and we can make sure we have what we need. So our students get to choose from being in Art 1, which is just drawing and all the basic first steps of art. And we have a ton of amazing stuff that comes out of our art program. They get to choose to be in band. A band, if they are choosing band, the band teachers are going over so they can try out the different instruments, because it's based upon which is appropriate for them. And we kind of break those classes down for band so that our flutes, our woodwind type section is together, our percussion type is together. And then later on, then we put them all together once they learn the basics of each of their instruments. We do have choir. We have an intro to theater program. So they'll learn all the basics behind acting, behind stage, setting up sets, all that good stuff as well. And then we have an option that is each, these 2 is a semester long. it's STEM and then technology, or it's speech and health. And we kind of coordinate those together with inside of multiple different things. So
One of the things too to keep in mind is we're scheduling these electives, or we're trying to find the interest to make sure that we have enough sections available for the students to be able to take them. So it's not just, we're not trying to pressure the students into choosing something before they've even gotten into junior high or this early in the year, but we want to make sure that we have enough sections available to let the kids do what they're interested in, right?
yes, that is a big part of it. So we kind of got to get our numbers kind of idea and lined out. And some of it may be that, like I said, it may be that we can't fit that into our master schedule. So it may be they get their choice number 3 or choice number 4 instead of choice 1 and 2. But we do our best to make sure everybody at the very least gets choice 1. About a lot of times we do have to look back into the schedule, say, what conflicts are there and what's more important? And the academic piece is going to be the most important. The elective is going to be our secondary thing.
Right. And that's something too, if the school year starts off and maybe they think, you know what, I thought that I really wanted to do art, but I'm not really sure this is for me. What happens if they want to do a schedule change? Is that even possible once the school year starts?
They put in a request for a schedule change. We do have a set shortened time limit that we have to do that in, because we do have to meet that they are in that classroom for a certain percentage of the school year in order to get credit. And that comes all through nice little state laws. But so we have to make sure that they're there, but also whenever we look at it, we've really got to take into context of not just, well, I'm not happy with this. This is not where I wanted to be. Number of people in the classroom, where it lines out, how does it change the rest of the schedule? Because a lot of times it will change the remainder of the schedule. So we do have about a week's window, but they put in a request. They continue on the schedule that they're supposed to follow, unless Ms. Falkenberry or myself comes to them and says, here is your new schedule, that we were able to work it out.
So parents, really keep an eye on that first week, because there is a lot more independence that's given to students in junior high. Be sure to ask your kid, because you don't want them coming to you the third week of school and saying, oh, I really wished I had changed my schedule, because by then it'll be too late. So starting the second day of school is when they can put in those request forms. So be having those conversations with them. Encourage them to stick it out, because don't encourage them to do it just because their friends are in another class. All the electives are great and they're sure to love them, but they'll try to accommodate them if possible. So we've talked a little bit about what electives are available. There's quite a variety. What does a typical day look like for a 6th grade student? Talked about that it's a little different than it is at the intermediate school.
So typical day is we do open our doors at 7:30, and then our students go straight to whatever their first period class is going to be. There they have breakfast in the classroom, they get themselves ready for the day, and then we proceed. From there, we have, right now it's 50-minute classroom periods, and so we do go to 8. So they go to first period. And then we switch and we go to a second period. Then we go to our third period. So they go through 8 different teachers, and they have to be responsible for carrying all their supplies from one place to the next. And then at the end of the day, we do have our car rider and our bus pick up, and the kids either go to the cafeteria, wait for their bus to get here, or they go straight outside and start looking for mom's car on the east side of the building. So that's really the basics of how the entire day runs, with lunch sitting somewhere in there for about 30 minutes in the middle of it.
So what about lunch? Let's talk about that. That was a question for my kid. They were really looking forward to maybe some more choices in the lunch line. Do they get to sit with their friends? Do they have assigned seats? How does lunch work?
Well, that varies based upon behavior a lot of the times. On the lunch line, there are some multiple choices. Whatever's on the main line is what is on your typical NutriSlice system that, hey, this is what we're serving today. But also then we do have a line that always has sandwiches, hamburgers, pizzas, and then another line that typically is serving nachos. So the kids do have a little bit of freedom in that. We typically start off having our students sit with whatever class they were in during fourth period or fifth period, depends upon where they're at. And then they earn their right by following cafeteria expectations to maybe get to start using their cell phones at lunch, and then to get into free choice at lunch based upon seating and things of that nature as well.
Okay, so what about, can they bring their lunch from home? Can parents bring lunch in? What about that?
So they can bring their lunch from home with them. That's not a problem. As far as outside lunches, of course, it does have to be that student's parent. It cannot be a sibling. It can't be a grandma, grandpa bringing in outside food. And we only allow that on Fridays. We really kind of needed to limit that because it does get very hectic in our front office throughout the course of a day. So Friday right now is the only day that our students are allowed to have outside food dropped off.
Okay. What about when? Can you talk a little bit about what that word is and what does that mean? That's something that we've heard at the junior high that maybe haven't heard over at intermediate school.
So our WIN period is similar to a homeroom type classing. During that time, our students were going to be working on either some help with their reading, some help with their math, or it may be if they're some of our gifted and talented students, they're going to be working on their GT time during then. Really, it's that time of day when we give that extra time and support based upon students' needs. So we're really focusing in on honing that and making it be a useful addition to our academic supports, but also taking it to the extension part for some of our other students. During that time, we may also end up meeting with some of our clubs during that time, and also getting ready for academic UIL, especially during the fall.
So those are two great things. The other things that students can do, there's a lot more freedom to learn about their interests and try different things in junior high. So tell me about UIL events and club day. That's something that students can do there.
So Club Day's kind of actually gone to the wayside. We're looking at making some adjustment to that, and what it's going to look like, I'm not sure yet. It's really going to be more embedded on a daily basis into our WIN periods. So students who are doing what they need to do, we're going to have some opportunities during the WIN time to go research, do different things of their interest. Maybe it's I think that we have Frisbee stuff going on. We have basketball stuff going on. We have our student council meeting during that time. But maybe their interests lie in other places where maybe they want to help build STEM projects or things like that. So really focused in on trying to hit some of those interests. And like I said, we're doing a lot of adjusting to that because that's going to be done through the WIN from now on. But then I forget what the rest of it you had on there was.
Oh, UIL.
UIL. So academic UIL is always like the first or second Wednesday in December. And so our kiddos take off to, typically it's been Big Spring the last 3 or 4 years after studying for different subject areas, and they participate in written tests, whether it be spelling, whether it be science, math. There are some writing events, there are some speaking events, and we spend the afternoon competing against the other local schools in different academic areas so that we can show off what our students have learned throughout the year.
That's great. And the kids always love it. Usually Chick-fil-A, something like that is on the menu for lunch. That's always a hit with the kids too. I want to remind you all too that you can ask questions during this webinar if you want. Use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, and you are more than welcome to ask a question and we will do our best to answer it live during the webinar. So let's talk about how communication at the junior high. How is that different, or what do you all use for communication to reach out to parents and let them know how their child is doing?
So typically, just like everything, our teachers like to use Parent Square to reach out regularly, but parents can see almost anything. I encourage parents always to make sure you're getting on to Skyward, to follow up, looking to see what you need to do with inside of all of that, keep up with their grades, keep up with any discipline, keep up with any attendance concerns that are coming up. So Skyward's always a great place for you to check. We also say, hey, our teachers are always using Parent Square, sending out information. And we have a couple of people who are constantly sending out at least a weekly report, kind of just to let you know kind of what's happening at the junior high every week. Ms. Falconberry does a newsletter. Her and Ms. Montoya really get together and work on that. The other way is always to use a phone call. Phone calls, personal visits are always awesome and great. I do encourage you to pick up the phone, call the school. We do get back to you. I don't necessarily encourage you just to show up, and because sometimes we're busy, just like Miss Falconberry got pulled away from something today because something else came up. So it's always best that if you have a set time, a set schedule, that we do our best to definitely accommodate with inside of that. So it's always best to call us, set up a schedule, meet with our teachers in person, meet with our administrators in person, and email always works great as well.
So multiple ways to reach out to the teacher. If you have any concerns, always check Skyward first. I know I set up weekly reminders through Skyward, or a weekly report through Skyward. So I get an email every Sunday or Saturday, I can't remember which day, but it tells me what my kids' grades were for the week. So if you don't have those set up, you can do that within Skyward. And then if there's a concern, you can follow up and send a Parent Square to that teacher to find out what's happening. So we do have a question that's come in. Is there a way to find out the prices of the lunches? I saw on Nutri-Slice all the different options like Luigi's Eatery. I'm curious how you find out the prices for those.
Honestly, I don't know the prices. I don't eat down there. I hardly ever eat lunch. But I don't know them. And so that would be something that we'd have to reach out to SFE, get all that information and push it out from there, because things change from time to time and I don't know what's changing down there.
That's a great question. And I honestly don't know the answer to that, but I think that's a great question that we want to know the answer to. And we can find that information out and publish it on our meal plans and menus page. So I'll reach out to Dylan Randolph, who's our food service director, and find out. I think those are more a la carte items, and we'll find out for you. Okay. Thank you for that question. Let's see here. The other question that I wanted to ask you is, okay, what about if things aren't going well? How is discipline handled at the junior high? Junior high, a lot of things are changing, a lot of hormones, and they're in a different school, and it can be a hard time for kids. And sometimes they make the wrong choices. How do y'all handle discipline over there at the junior high?
So we do follow our student code of conduct. And continue to reach out. I'm fortunate to have 3 ladies working with me who help me with all of those things. And we encourage our students that if something's not going right, let a teacher know, let one of us know so that we can get started on working on it. Let Ms. Falconberry know. Sometimes it's just that you need to talk to the counselor and get some advice on something if you don't feel comfortable just going to one of the administrators. But we do follow our student code of conduct, and we quickly act on things as best that we can to help ensure that everything's going the way it should.
Absolutely. And I think that's the biggest point, is that communication. So if your child is having trouble at school, or whether they feel like somebody is not treating them right, at school, being teased or something like that, make sure you speak to the teacher take it up through the correct lines of communication so that we make sure nothing falls through the cracks, because we can't follow through with it if we don't know about it. So if there's any concerns at all, just please make sure that you bring those to the teacher, to Ms. Falconberry, to any of the assistant principals, or to Mr. Rush, so that it can be addressed.
Hey, Valerie, I also forgot that, and they don't need to forget that on the website, there's the See Something, Say Something portal. They can go put in anything and report anything that's going on in there anonymously, so that they don't have to actually come talk to one of us as well. And that goes for parents as well. A lot of times, a student will inform you of something in the evening that happened and they didn't want to tell any of us. Send us an email, leave us a message, put something on the See Something, Say Something, because what I hate most of all is whenever something is going on and we don't know about it, and then 2 months later or 2 weeks later, something else happens, and now it's really a bigger issue than what if we could have stopped it early on.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. I know I've had kids at the junior high. I've had 2 there, have 1 there right now that's going to be off the campus. And anytime there's been an issue or a concern and I've brought it to y'all's attention, it's been taken care of. And I appreciate it, because things come up in junior high. It's a tough time for kids, and my kids have made mistakes, and then they have also been on the, subject to other people's poor decisions at sometimes too. And it's all part of learning how to deal with those difficult situations and talking through it. So I appreciate all y'all do for that at the junior high, Mr. Rush. Tell me, how do I get messages to my child during the day? What's the best way to do that?
So during the day, we definitely ask that students put away all electronic devices that they bring to campus. And that means we're asking that their cell phone is turned off, is put in their backpack from 7:55 till 4:05 when we get out, unless they get it as a reward at lunch. So you're like, well, I need to be in contact with my kid. So I've got a great office staff. I got ladies up here who always answer the phone. Call our office. If it's an emergency, we're definitely going to go get your child right then. If it's something that we just need to get a message to them, we're going to get that message to them throughout the day. And we're going to do what we can to least disrupt the learning environment while we do that. So definitely call through the office. If you can't get them there, you can send an email. We check our emails. The ladies in the front office check their emails pretty regularly. So, but the best bet is always to call. Hey, I need to tell so-and-so XYZ, let them take the note down and let them get it into the classroom. We definitely want to discourage the use of the electronic devices and you texting with inside of that. It tends to be more of a disruption than of a help for this child at that point in time, because now it distracts more than just one person. It's a whole classroom.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And Ms. Falconberry just joined us. Hello. Oh, you're on mute still, but she'll hop off in a minute. And
Hello.
there we go. Hi. So we were talking about getting messages to kids during the day, and that also goes for the nurse. So if your child, let's say they had the privilege of using their cell phone at lunch, and they text you at lunch and they say they're not feeling well and that you need to come pick them up. I bet that never happens, does it?
Never.
Never. So what do you suggest in that situation if you get a text from your child saying that they're sick?
In order for the absence to count as excuse, it still needs to go through the school nurse. So the student still needs to see the school nurse. And if the nurse deems that it's appropriate, she will contact the parent and send them home.
And I would also encourage within there, whenever you do have that child later at home, have that discussion with them about, you should not be on your phone at school. We have an eHall pass system where all of our students can type in the pass, or the teacher can put the pass in for them to go see the nurse. If they're sick or they're not feeling well, we do accommodate, and our nurse is very accommodating to go see them, visit them, check and make sure that everything is going okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's a great thing. Can you talk about the e-hall pass system as well? How does that work?
So yeah, so once our students get their Chromebooks, then we do have an electronic pass system where that the students type in their own pass and the teacher then approves it for them to go to the restroom, go to the nurse, go to the office, go to the library. We do tell them you're not going from one teacher to another teacher because our teachers are teaching. Amazing thought.
Yeah.
So we don't want to be disruptive to their class. We want to be respectful of them. We do allow our students to passes during the day. We don't have our bathrooms open during passing period right now. Right now, it's a 3-minute passing period. They don't have time to stop. They just need to get from one place to the next. But because we do understand they do need to do those things, they just type it in. They let their teacher know. Their teacher has an approval code. Boom, it's in, and we have a record of it. Also, within inside of there, we do have a get the to make sure that we're following state laws and that our students actually have to be in every single class period for 90% of that class period. So we want to make sure they're not just hanging out and roaming around the halls too. It's like, you've got to get to the bathroom, go take care of your business and get back, not be going all everywhere else. So that's another thing that we do have to have lots of discussions around, because whenever they're gone for an excessive amount of time, they end up getting counted absent, and then that ends up in having to do summer school, makeup time, and we really don't want to have to them to do all of that as well.
Well, that's a great segue into my next question is regarding absences, because it's a little different at the junior high, isn't it?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I know at the lower levels, attendance time is taken once a day and students are able to leave early or whatever, and it doesn't count against their absences. However, at the junior high level, every class period counts. Every class that they miss counts as an absence. So if they're here for first period, second period, and they leave at 10 o'clock, then from 10 o'clock on, every class that's missed is an absence. So that's much different from intermediate.
So if they have an English class and it's the last period of the day, then how does that, what if their parents picking them up early every Thursday, and they miss their English class every Thursday? How can that impact them?
Drastically, yes. Their
Mhm.
English grade will definitely suffer. They'll be missing the instruction. They'll be missing the assignment, testing, things of that nature. And so it's really important that students are in each and every class as much as they can be. If a student must leave early, a parent note, a doctor's note, those are recommended. And no more than 5 parent notes are allowed. So I would be very picky about what I use a parent note for. And if at all possible, make appointments for after school or during an elective class time.
But also within inside of that is, if a student is missing even just one period every single day, that information gets sent over to our truancy officer, who then has to go and enforce those rules about the 90% rule. That's why I also say that it's important that we are in every single class 90% of that time or more. Like I said, we understand kids got to go to the restroom, kids got to go to the nurse, things like that. But whenever they're gone for excessively long periods of time from the same class every single day, then that adds up and they start getting counted absent for that, which then does get passed over and can end up in truancy and everything else and all the stuff that goes down that road, as well as having to make up time. And like Ms. Falkenberry said, the biggest part of it though really is, the whole thing is, we cannot help teach your kids if they're not in that classroom with us. So we need them all in the classroom as much as possible.
Yes.
All right. And on that, I had a question come in about the hall pass. So what happens if the teacher doesn't approve the hall pass? When can they use the restroom without disrupting learning times?
So the hall pass is always used during the learning times. And we don't have right now, I mean, we're just in a spot where we cannot use them during the period. So it has worked out. We have not had any issues with it at all with them being able to go. We do tell our teachers that we limit like the number of students who are out at a certain time. So, but we have not run into any issues with it at all. If there's situations going on where the child needs to have some more freedom with that, we do ask that you go through the nurse and we make adjustments to that, so that if we know there's something going on, we always take time to accommodate for those.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So that just all boils down to communication. So if your child is saying my hall pass isn't getting approved, call up to the school, find out what's happening, message the teacher. Maybe there was a misunderstanding, but from what I'm hearing you say, you haven't seen any instances of that. It's really just to control the amount of kids, because
Yes.
sometimes they don't get to see their friends as much during school. And so it's like, oh, at this time, let's all go to the restroom and we can catch up. That's what this e-hall pass system is trying to prevent, really. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
And if we start seeing a lot of that, there's another lovely thing inside that system. We can actually set it so that that student and their friend can't both be out at the same time. So we have some little things. If we know that that's going on, we can do some adjustments with that system.
You are so clever.
Not me.
So, again, we're just trying to make sure our kids are in school, in the
In class,
classroom,
yes.
learning when they need to be there. And then there'll be times at lunch and all that when they can reconnect with their friends and electives. We also had a parent ask, and this kind of ties into that as well, as far as security at the school. Can you talk to us a little bit about precautions, or also anything you all are doing specifically to keep drugs out of the school?
We're doing everything that we can, that we know. If someone has any brighter ideas than what we're already doing, we're willing to listen to them. Trust me. But we do weekly have door checks. That is also a state mandate for safety, and we check those doors regularly. We are in and out of the bathrooms and everywhere else as much as we are. We're actively engaged. We're watching our teachers every passing period. They're in the hallways, greeting our students as they come in their door, watching them. Anytime we hear the rumors that something might be going on, we are following up on those as quickly as we possibly can as well.
And that's something I've seen just as a parent, but also as an employee. I've been over there, and during the passing periods, there is staff everywhere. They are watching and, just monitoring, and then greeting the kids as well, because they want to see a friendly face when they're coming into their classroom. But it's also a security measure too. And we have a lot of security measures at school to keep kids safe as well. But as far as, we have a school resource officer that helps us as well, correct?
Yes, Ms. Rackley is school resource officer for the entire district. So she does spend most of her time on the 2 secondary campuses, but she does make her way around quite often. And if needed, I do have people who I have them directly on my cell phone in spots 1, 2, and 3, and I call them, and then they get this way for us as quickly as they can. So.
Absolutely.
Someone asked specifically about drugs. We also have the drug dog that is on campus occasionally and, goes through and does the whole routine that they need to do. We have random drug testing for some of our students that are participating in UIL activities. So that's another way of us being able to monitor that behavior on campus.
And that's something as well, when you agree for your child to participate in UIL activities, is that they are subject to the random drug screens, correct?
Yes, correct. Yes.
So that kind of, another thing that we wanted to talk about was athletics. That's not available in 6th grade, but PE is something that students take in 6th grade, correct? What do they do in there, and how is that getting them ready for athletics in 7th grade?
All 6th graders are required to take PE 2 years while they're on this campus. We like to get that done 6th grade and 7th grade. In 7th grade, they could take athletics instead of PE. However, they must have 2 years of physical education. PE for 6th graders, it's a lot of learning the fundamentals of volleyball, basketball, football, track, strength and conditioning. It's a whole gamut of those foundational skills. They also take time just to play around and be kids and, that sort of thing in PE as well. They do dress out. So they will be in shorts and a t-shirt or sweats and a t-shirt. Must be school appropriate. We do not have lockers for sixth graders. So students will need a small bag to put their gym clothes in for PE purposes.
So with inside that also, they do have that locker room where they lock their things up for during the hour they're in PE. It's just not enough for every single kid. But the other piece to that is, yes, they really do focus on a lot of the athletic skills. They do some weightlifting. They end up doing their fitness test during PE as well. But one of the things that the coaches always recommend is, hey, we are looking now. They're looking now to see what your potentials are. Whenever they say looking now, they talk about, we're also looking at, are you following the school-wide expectations? Are you trying to do the right things? Because whenever you come back and you go, I want to sign up because I'm going to be a Snyder Tiger football player or Snyder Tiger volleyball player next year, they go, okay, we want to make sure you are that person who is setting the example of what we want Snyder to be known as. So really our coaches are also our PE teachers, and they're kind of already checking out while they're teaching those skills. Are you that person we need to be a part of this? And so they're trying to help redirect that along the way as well. So I just encourage your kiddos as they come on, man, get on that right foot, get off to a great start and set that great first impression, not only to those coaches, but to everybody up here and around here.
Our coaches do a great job of setting the expectations for the students and making sure that they understand, if you plan on participating in athletics in 7th and 8th grade, these are the expectations you will have to follow. And really, like Mr. Rush said, pushing that character, integrity, being responsible, being accountable, being kind, being respectful, the 4 pillars that we have for Snyder Junior High. The coaches really help push that and make sure that those qualities are instilled in the students as well. So they do a great job of that. They also let them know, discipline, behavior. If you are a student that is has 20 write-ups or something, you possibly will not be able to participate in athletics next year. So they start building that relationship with the students right away, of being that one that they can go to and work through issues and stuff and take care of some of the behaviors prior to it preventing them from participating in athletics.
That's right. It's not just about winning a game. They want to know that they've got kids they can count on who are going to make good grades and behave and make the right choices too. So any other questions that you all have in our audience, if you want to type those in, we're going to be wrapping it up here in just a few minutes. I do also want to let you know that once it is time for your kids to move into 7th grade, we'll have meetings as well to get you oriented to 7th and 8th grade and athletics. Usually Coach Wood comes in and he talks. We're doing something very similar for our 7th and 8th grade families with a Zoom and then an in-person meeting to just let them know about that process. So once that time comes, we'll be providing you with more information on athletics. So is there anything else that you all can think of that you want to tell our parents that are on right now? We're waiting on a few more questions.
I would like to say I'm really excited to get to see the new group coming in. Super excited to start building new relationships with the students and helping them be successful in junior high.
And for me at this point in time, I just really encourage you, take that form that they have about what electives they want and be very intentional with it and talk to them about it and make sure that you do put those numbers on there so that as Ms. Falconberry starts over the spring break time and as we get a little bit closer, she starts getting that stuff put in there. She really has a good solid idea about getting your student in the spot that is best for them. Because like I said, we do some schedule changes, but it is a whole lot easier to do up front if we get them in the right spot, because afterwards there's so many extra little things that juggle into that planning at that point in time.
Absolutely. And I do want to remind you all that we have a meeting tonight. It's going to be at the junior high from 5 till 6. And you'll enter on the east side of the building, which is right by our gym, if you're familiar with the junior high. And you'll go in and we'll be in the cafeteria or cafetorium, I think, as we call it. For that meeting. And just because you're here now doesn't mean you can't come to the one tonight. If you have more questions or you'd rather talk to somebody in person, we invite you to come out tonight to the junior high. And then also feel free to call up to the junior high, 574-8700. You can call that number or email any of us. And the questions@snyderisd.net is a really easy email to remember. That comes to me and I can get it to whoever needs to see it if you have a question as well. We also have a lot of this information on our website. If you go to the junior high tab on our website, there's a section just for 6th grade. Or you can go to snyderisd.net/6th grade. And you can find a lot of information and resources there as well. So if you all don't have anything to add, then we'll say goodbye for now. And invite you all to come out tonight if you would like at 5 o'clock at the junior high. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, bye.
Bye.